Right, good morning. Iteration, day 8. Right, calculator question. Seems to be pretty standard now, so good use of calculator. There are 3 parts to this, and the first question shows us those 3 parts. Part A, show that the equation x cubed plus x equals 7 has a solution between 1 and 2. So this is pure substitution. It's strange, how you finish this off, but essentially, if we write x equals 1, then we've got 1 cubed plus 1. Now I've got a calculator. I'm using substitution. So I'm using the brackets. 1 cubed is 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, 2 is less than 7. I'm now going to put in the 2. So I've got 2 cubed plus 2. 2 cubed is 8 plus 2 is 10. What I can see is that 7 is between 2 and 10. So the solution must be between 1 and 2. No, I've written those words. I would say that is a pretty standard type answer. I know sometimes in the mark schemes they talk about the change in sign, but in this case there isn't a change in sign. So I would say that's a reasonable type answer you could always use. Show that the equation x cubed plus x equals 7 can be arranged to give x equals cube root of 7 minus x. This purely is whether you can see it. I'm looking at the cube root. I think that's something that sometimes we looked at is whether we could factorise something out, but because I can see the cube root and the cube, the first thing I'm going to do is take that x away. That gives me x cubed equals x minus 7. So essentially I've found that bit. Now I'm just going to cube root and cube root. So x equals the cube root of x minus 7. Sometimes they're easy to see and sometimes they are not. Right. The next part is the 3 marks, and this is where you calculate it. There's 2. I always set this out in 2 ways. I have solutions, because that's what they want, and I also have calculator, and this is where you calculate, okay. This is where you have your ands button. So first of all, we look at this bit. It usually starts with x0 or x1. In this case, I've got x0 equals 2. It says use the iteration formula xn plus 1 equals cube root of 7 minus xn 3 times to find an estimate for a solution of x cubed plus x equals 7. So 3 times, that means I'm going to do x1, x2 and x3. If you're trying to find the solution, you would put x at the bottom. So probably always check for this. Then what I'm going to do is I've got to put this 2 here into my calculator. So my first step is 2 equals. I've got my calculator turned on. I press 2 equals. That tells the calculator now to use to work with the 2. And what I then need to do is replicate this using ands where it says xn. So that's where I'm going to use my ands button. In fact, my ands button has got a lowercase n. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in cube root, find that on the calculator. For me, it is above the square root. So shift, so this is where you need to know your calculator. I've got cube root 7 minus, and then I just put in ands, and that is it. And then just press equals, The first answer I get is 1.70997, etc. Don't be lazy with this, put in as many values as is reasonable. Then just press equals again. I've got 1.74241188, and then equals again 1.738849,506. I've written everything down there. So yeah, and that's it. We've done the 3 times, perfect. Right, next one. Using xn plus 1 equals minus 2, take 4 over xn, that's a squared, with x0 equals minus 2.5, find the values of x1, x2, x3. This is purely getting... using your calculator correctly, to be honest. So once again, I've got my solutions, I've got my calculator, I've got x0 equals minus 2.5. The nice thing with this is that as soon as you've got that into the calculator will just work with it. So it's just going to be an ANDS button thing. And you'll know if you've got it in the calculator because you'll see minus 2.5. You might, I think if I put minus 2.5 in, you might see minus 5 over 2. So AC. So I use the negative button, which is on the left hand side, about just halfway up, negative 2.5. Yeah, that gives me minus 5 over 2. I'm just going to try this. If I just use the minus button, subtract, it still gives me minus 5 over 2. If you want to check the minus 2.5 by doing S to D, that's fine. But as press equals to make sure that is in the machine. Now all I've got to do is make sure I put this in correctly. So I've got minus 2, take 4. So I'm going to need my fraction button. Then I've got this xn, which is ANDS, and that little 2 above is the squared. So as long as it looks like that, I'm okay. So negative 2, take, fraction button, 4, over, ANDS, find the squared. Yeah, as long as it looks like that, which mine does. The next answer is minus 66 over 225, which S to D is minus 2.64. Then just press, press equals here if you want. Press equals again, which gives me minus 2.573921. Press equals again, I've got minus 2.603767. You think, well, how far do I go? There's no harm writing everything down. You certainly want to go 3 decimal places and beyond. Usually the mark schemes show probably the first 3 decimal places. And all right, I've left mine in the table. Do I need to put them in the bottom right hand corner? Not necessarily. Explain the relationship between the values of x1, x2 and x3 and the equation x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4 equals 0. Now the fact that this has been rearranged, let me have a look. So if I rearrange this, I mean, it's for one. So first of all, I probably need to show that this can be written like that. So what I've got is, I've got x. So what do I want? I need So I've got I'm going to take away the 4. So I've got x, oops, where's my pen? I've got x cubed plus 2x squared plus 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the 4 equals 0. So take 4, and that gives me x cubed plus 2x squared equals minus 4. Then what we looked at with these was substituting this, so factorising this. So what I'm going to do is take an x squared out, giving me x plus 2 equals minus 4. Then I'm going to divide by the x squared. Then I'm going to divide by the x squared, which gives me x plus 2 equals minus 4 over x squared. Then I'm going to take the 2. Then I'm going to take the 2, which goes to the front. So x equals minus 2 take 4 over x squared. So explain the relationship between the values of x1, x2, x3, and that. Well, first of all, this can be these essentially x1, x2 and x3 are all solutions to the equation. Okay, so use the word solution. Okay, and that's all it is. So I'm actually going to using iteration, and the fact that when I've used the word iteration means I've used one to get from one to the other. Use the word solutions and you'll get something. Show that the equation x cubed plus 7x minus 5 equals 0 is a solution between x equals 0 and x. So same again, x equals 0, sub in, so I've got 0 cubed plus 7 lots of 0, take 5. That is negative 5. X equals 1, so I've got 1 cubed plus 7 lots of 1, take 5, equals 1, plus 7 is 8, take equals 3. 0 is between minus 5 and 0, and 3, sorry. Let's work that out. Sorry, this stupid thing. 0 is between, so the solution is between x equals 0 and x equals 1. It's always worthwhile remembering that solution thing. Now this one, we're now rearranging. Now the thing, when we've looked at these in the past, getting rid of that constant is usually a good first step. So what we've got is x cubed plus 7x equals 5. That's going to get you a mark. Then what I want to do is factorise out. On this one I'm going to factorise out by the x, leaving me with x squared plus 7 equals 5. Divide by the bracket. Divide by the bracket. So x equals 5 over x squared plus 7. Just getting rid of that constant, that 5 will get you a mark. Starting with x0 equals 1, use the iteration formula. 3 times to find an estimate. So same again, solutions, x0 equals 1, 1, 2 and 3, calculator, in this case I've got 1 equals, and then what I've got, using the calculator again, remember that's the xn, so I've got 5 over ans squared plus 7, make sure you put that, and then equals, so what have I got? First one is 1 equals, so I can see the 1 in the bottom right hand corner. Now I've got my fraction button, I've got 5 over ans, get my squared button, add 7, make sure it all looks right, exactly the same, make sure that plus 7 isn't in the powers, equals, so I've got 0.625 equals, I'm using S to D, 0.6765327, plenty of decimal places, and then I've got 0.6704483, etc. Okay, that's that one. By substituting your answer to part C into, comment on the accuracy of your estimate for the solution 2. Now I've got that answer, so now I've got 0. So what I've got is x equals, or in fact it was x3 equals 0.67044830001. I've got that as an answer, so it says by substituting your answer. So there's the answer. I'm going to substitute my answer by doing this. Ans cubed plus 7. You can just write ans, you don't need brackets, take 5. So ans cubed plus 7 ans take 5 equals, so what I've got is I've got it in standard form, so I've got minus, it's a negative, standard form is minus 5.4947, etc., and it's times 10 to the negative 3. So if I wrote that out, that is minus negative 3 is 0.00544947. Okay. Comment on the accuracy. This is how close is it? It is 5 thousandths. The solution. Oops, is 0.005 away from 0, so quite accurate. So accurate to, well, 2 decimal places as well, and 2 only. In fact, if you rounded this, if you put to 2 decimal places, it wouldn't be, so it's to 1 decimal place, yeah. So probably not that accurate. Right, so here we go, another one, number 4. So we've got x equals 0, 0 cubed plus 5 lots of 0 minus 4 equals minus 4. X equals 1, 1 cubed plus 5 lots 1 take 4 equals 1 plus 5 is 6 take 4 is 2. 0 is between minus 4 and 2, so the solution is between x equals 0 and x equals 1. Okay, here we've got another one of these rearranged ones, so get rid of the constant, that number on the end, which gives me x cubed plus 5x equals 4. There's my first mark. Factorise out, giving me x squared plus 5. Some of these are equals 4. Divide by the brackets. So x equals 4 over x squared plus 5. Starting with x equals, so here I've got my solutions. So, and I've got my calculator. So, x0 equals 0. So, 0 equals, says, starting with x0 because it used the iteration formula twice. So, 1, 2, no more. So read the question. So what I've then got is I've got 4 over. Here's my bit, so I've got my squared again, ands squared plus 5. So what have I got? 0 equals, there's 0 in the bottom corner. I've got my fraction button, I've got 4 over ands squared plus 5 should be S to D 0.8 for the first one, and the second one is 0.7092198. Okay, 2 7 decimal places. Yeah, good. How many more of these? A couple more. Show that the solution, so these are, shows that the equation has a solution between, so it's very similar to, oops, that out. So I've got x equals 2, so I've got 2 cubed minus 3 lots of 2 squared plus 3. This time I will use the calculator, make sure we don't make any mistakes. So I've got brackets 2 cubed minus 3 lots of 2 squared plus 3. That gives me minus 1. I've got x equals 3, so I've got 3 cubed minus 3 lots of 3. Don't know what's going on with this computer today. It's got a mind of its own. I'm sure I can find it pretty quick. Yeah. The last one's good, so let's try that again. God, a minute, what's going on? So x equals 2. 2 cubed minus 3 lots of 2 squared plus 3 equals minus 1. X equals 3, so I've got 3 cubed minus 3 lots of 3 squared plus 3 equals bracket 3 cubed minus 3 lots of 3 squared plus 3. I'm guessing it's going to be 3. Yeah, it's 3. 0 is between -1 and 3, so the solution is between x equals 2 and x equals 3. Sorry about that on the video. Showed the equation can be rearranged. This one, it's interesting that I can see that bit nearly in there, so the signs have changed. So my first one is I'm looking at it, so I'm adding the 3 squared and taking the 3. I'm going to do it in one go. 3x squared minus 3, so that gives me x cubed equals 3x squared minus 3. To get rid of the cube, I cube root, and there we go, x equals. So it's looking at it, they're not always the same. However, these usually are. Right, so what we've got here, starting with x, so I've got my solutions, my calculator, x0 equals 2, use the iteration formula, so that's 2 equals, I've got cube root 3. Here I've got my squared. I'm guessing that is, that should be xn. So 3 ands squared. It's the nice thing about ands, it's sort of nearly, it's in brackets on its own to find the value of x2. So I've got x1 equals and x2 equals. So 2 equals. Then I've got cube root, so find the cube root, I've got that. 3 ands squared, take 3. I mean, this is just really showing that you can use the calculator. 2.080083. Oh, God. What's going on with this? Sorry. Some unknown reason, it's just not like me today. So I'll do this bit again. I think we got the last bit. Oh, stupid thing. Right. x0 equals 2. Solutions. Calculator. 2 equals 3 ands squared minus 3. x1 equals 2.0800838. x2 is what it wanted. So I've done the first one, the second one is 2.1530151. Okay, sorry about that. And then finally 6. Hopefully we can do this without having to keep going back. First of all, what have I got here? Yeah, this is another one of these rearranging ones. So I've got to get that x on its own. I've got to get that x squared down there. So what I've got here, I'm guessing there could be some negatives involved. So what I've got is 3x squared minus x cubed plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to take the 3, take the 3, so that's 3x squared minus x cubed equals negative 3. I'm then going to factorise out, and I'm going to factorise out by the x squared because I need the x squared there. So I'm going to got x squared, and that leaves me with 3 take x equals minus 3. Divide by that x squared, divide by that x squared. And then what I've got is 3 minus x equals minus 3 over x squared. Now, if I was to take the 3, I would get negative x equals minus 3 take 3 over x squared. And of course, because I've got this negative, it's nearly like I've got to divide through by the negative. But because I can see the negatives here, I'm just going to put an arrow and put that, well, x equals 3 plus 3 over x squared. So I'm just, it's nearly like multiplying by minus 1 or dividing by minus 1. Okay, so because I've changed all the signs, that's not a problem. Right, finally, we've got solutions, calculator, x0 equals 3.2. I've got x1, x2 and x3. My handwriting's not very good today. I've got 3.2 equals, and then I've got 3 plus 3 over, here's my ands squared. So I've got 3.2 equals, yeah, that's 16 over 5, which I can S to D, doesn't matter. And then I've got 3 plus fraction button, 3 over ands squared equals, first one, 3.29296875, and again 3.27665976 if you want, and again 3.2794206885. Explain what the values of x1, x2 and x3 represent. Well, they are the solutions. These are the solutions to, and it's the original equation, 3x squared minus x cubed plus 3 equals 0 using iteration. Okay, great. A few glitches there. However, we got all the questions done. Thank you. See you tomorrow.